I've said it before on this channel, but I think we're kind of in the midst of a shift within the video game industry, and there are better days ahead of us, but it will take some time. But one of the good things about this is that game developers are starting to understand who the actual audience is. We had this story that came out last week talking about how they view online content creators as somewhat of a threat because they understand they have the power to actually hold some sway over whether a game does good or not. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that these people are essentially just avatars for the audience. So if you listen to what they say, that's a pretty good idea. That's what the audience is also thinking. But some of them, it's going to take a little bit longer in order to try to catch up on it, because we got this story coming out. Fallout creator claims video game developers have no idea what gamers want, then blames gamers for providing bad feedback. Now, I was reading through this earlier and I did agree with some of the stuff he said, and I will point that out, but I do also think he's kind of missing it. And if game developers are kind of more along the lines of what Tim Cain is thinking in this article, well, then that does indicate problems. But like I said, think most of them, or at least some of them, are starting to kind of pick up what actual gamers are wanting. But let's look at what he has to say here. Tim Cain, one of the creators of Fallout, recently declared that video game developers and studios have no clue what gamers want, but then proceed to blame gamers for providing bad feedback. In a recent upload to his YouTube channel, Cain stated, "I want to give you the raw, unfiltered response to, do devs know what gamers want? And here it is. No, we don't know what you want. We have no idea seriously what you want." Now, that's kind of surprising because people are not shy about posting their opinions online. You have whole content creators out there who build a career around just saying their opinions on various games and movies and other things like that. So to act as if you don't know what people are saying just indicates that you're not actually looking, or at least you're not looking at the right sources here. But let's continue. As for why he believes that game developers do not know what gamers want, he elaborated, "Here's the longer answer, and it's all kind of can be summed up as because you don't know either." He then explained, "First off, many of you only tell developers what you hate. Great, you said what it is you don't want. But what is it you want? When you keep saying, I hate this in games, I hate this feature, I hate these kind of characters and all that, great. What kind of characters do you want?" Now, obviously, that's a gross mischaracterization of what people are saying online. Yes, I will grant there is a lot of negativity, but people are still saying what they actually want in games. It's just a lot of developers aren't actually following through with that. And also just with the simple idea is like, well, we know what you hate, so why do they keep adding that into it? Because a lot of people have said in the last couple of years that they hate having political agendas shoved in games and things like that, but yet many developers have even acknowledged that that has been a problem for them, but they still persist on doing it. Other ones are starting to wise up to that idea and being like, okay, if people don't want this stuff, then at the very least, they should exclude those features in that. I mean, I think we could start with that, but apparently that's a little bit too much to ask. Saying we don't want this sort of thing in games, I think is a pretty strong indicator that developers shouldn't include those elements in games, even if you don't necessarily know what people want. At least that's a good starting location. If you hate sarcastic characters, well, there's an entire realm of non-sarcastic characters. But what is it you want? Do you want funny characters? Do you want serious characters? Do you want characters with a lot of background? Do you want characters with very little that you don't want to spend all a wall of time in a wall of text dialogue? What do you want? That's why you have to tell us what you want and not what you don't want. Actually, I would say telling us what you're telling developers what you don't want is equally as valid as telling them what you want. Does that not necessarily paint a roadmap for them? Well, sure, there's a lot of ways that you can go with it. If you just say, I don't want sarcastic characters, as is his example. But still, we have a lot of things to pull from in the past. Like what has worked in the past? What have people liked in previous games? People, when they give reviews online, I'm not talking about like the paid shills with from Access Media, but like actual people online who make a career just saying what they want about games because they have a passion for it. They'll tell you what they like about it. It's just a matter of actually looking for it. He said, even when you say what you want, you're often extraordinarily vague. You will say, I want a better game. I want better AI. I want better UI. Yeah, I'll just slide the better slider from okay to great on all those things. See, this is just being very disingenuous on his part. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think if you say you want better AI, I think people understand what that means. Like if an AI in a game, for instance, is just standing there while you shoot at them and you say, I wish this was better AI. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, for starters, have an AI that doesn't just stand there while you're shooting at them. I mean, you could go from there and then work up. I mean, or look at games that people praise the AI for and like, okay, well, what did that game do? Okay, it did this. All right, let's try to incorporate more of that into our games. I mean, you see, this isn't complicated here. If you don't say what you're talking about, it can be really vague. He reiterated. So, I mean, he just kind of goes on like this, just saying like, well, we don't know what you want. You're just giving us vague suggestions and other things like that, and not actually giving us a roadmap on how to make these games good. From there, Cain noted that gamers are not monolithic and have different preferences. He points to comments on his previous videos about people disagreeing with fast travel, different difficulty options, and encumbrance mechanics. He then goes on to say that there's no way they can actually make everyone happy with their games, and I would agree 100%, but the goal shouldn't be to make everyone happy. Maybe depending on the budget of the game, it should be to make as large of amount of people happy as possible. But the problem is, and this is kind of an issue with the AAA gaming industry as a whole, in that they're spending so much money on these games, they have to make something that appeals to everyone. And frankly, you really just can't do that. The only way the gaming industry will be able to survive is basically to severely reduce the budgets on their games. But I mean, that's a whole other story, and that's an issue that I think a lot of people have brought up. I mean, I've even talked about that on this channel in the past about how they're spending so much money they need to appeal to everyone, and that's just not possible. So the best thing they can do is basically spend less money on games, listen to people who like games similar to that, and then incorporate those sort of things in it. Like I already pointed out in this video, some studios are starting to understand you don't push political agendas in that. Others have also made some waves kind of recently. Marvel Rivals is doing big right now. Helldivers 2 is really popular. And those are games because I wouldn't say they necessarily made any like huge leaps and bounds in innovation, but they were just kind of going back to the basics and making fun games and doing simple stuff that a lot of people like. So that's kind of what needs to be done, I think, and that's something that I think Tim Cain could actually take away from all this. Even if he thinks that there's just negativity out there, listen to what people are saying about those games and why they like those games. You might have to do a little analysis of it to try to actually get to the root of what they're saying about it, because they're not just going to spell it out. Maybe a lot of people just don't know how to articulate what they like about it. And I can understand that, but still, I think if you are actually someone intelligent, you can pretty much get a good idea about what people are asking for in video games just by looking at what people are saying online and in comment sections. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think he's right in that there's just no way of pleasing people? Or do you think that you actually can figure out what gamers want if you just, listen to them? Comment below and let me know. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.